G'day there guys, it's your main man Markee, back at it again with another episode of r/Am I the Arsehole. Now today we do have some updates in the stories, so I do hope you sit back, relax, enjoy what I have to share with you today, and enjoy the episode. Thank you. Our first post is by user Stolen Ideas, titled, "Would I be the arsehole if I sue my sister-in-law for stealing my book and making a huge profit from it? I, 24 female, write as a hobby, and I like sharing my short stories with my small following. I do want to publish one day, but I want to make it perfect first since it's not edited yet. The unfinished book we're talking about came from an idea that I started to build when I was in middle school. I just finished it last year, but because of the virus, I was forced to put the project aside to ensure that steady employment with my day job. My brother and sister-in-law came to visit me to introduce their baby daughter about 6 months ago. Sister-in-law just thrusted her baby into my arms, even though I lack even the barest knowledge on how to hold a baby. The baby was fussy, and my brother helped calm her down while sister-in-law said she wanted to use the bathroom to pump breast milk. They left later, and I didn't think anything of it until recently, that I was told sister-in-law had published a book, and it had been a while since she published. Self-publish is not as time-consuming as traditional publishing. I don't doubt my sister-in-law's intelligence because she is a smart woman, but I've always heard how she dislikes books because they're boring and drag on. I wanted to show my support and brought a copy, only to realize it's way too similar to mine. I compared it to my copy of unpublished work, and it's obvious it's been edited and proofread for fluidity and clarity. I was angry, and I admit I overreacted by confronting her over the phone. She said my screaming was upsetting her and hung up on me. It was a back-and-forth battle with phone numbers to get to the truth. By this time, my parents and her parents are involved. So I'm gonna go with not the arsehole for this situation. I can see why you might think you are by blowing up over the phone to her, but that's just you being emotional and attacking her rightly. Heck, if I was in your shoes, I'd be pissed off too, and rightly so. That's just ridiculous. Your parents and her parents should be involved in this situation because they should slap her back down to earth and get her to realize, hey, you done goofed up, son. So for this situation, I think it's just how you are angry. No, you are not the a-hole for this. And OP provides at the top of the post, unnecessary edit because there are just too many ugly messages. To those who think it's fake because of incoherency, grammar, and structure, it's why editors and proofreaders exist. They are hired to fix the manuscript before publishing. I didn't proofread this, and that's my fault. I like to write, but I'm not a professional writer. English is my second language. To those who think it's impossible to make lots of profit from a one-time self-published book with an unheard-of author, sister-in-law has a decent following. When her followers buy the book, it climbs Amazon ranking, and that means it's more visible to other buyers interested in the same genre. I came here not for legal advice at first because I was struggling morally. I needed help, not to have people attack me in private messages and in the comments. House Addict says, "Look, you are 100% the wronged party here. However, before I cast judgment, let me try and give an alternative viewpoint. The damage is already done now, and how you proceed is going to have consequences for you. Now, if you sue her, it's going to cause a rift in your family, and to be honest, you were probably never going to forgive this anyway. So that's one thing to at least consider. That's not the most interesting thing though. The book is out there now, and it's gained some traction due to her social shit. If you had released it, you well know that it might never have gone anywhere. Or maybe it would. Now you also have this massive Reddit post. This, to me, is an opportunity to make something out of your work, and I think you should take it. Yes, you could soothe your anger with some tasty revenge, or you could try and make your million from it. I'm no author, but I reckon there's probably another book in this whole story here. It's mental. Anyway, food for thought, not the a-hole." Tsunami says, not the a-hole. As an aspiring writer, this makes me so angry. I would drown them in legal bills before cutting contact. My blood is boiling. CGY says, you were not ready to publish your work, and now it's out there without you having say on the final version. She stole your work, and when you try to publish in the future, you wouldn't even be able to claim that book as your work if you do nothing. She's an absolute fraud, and it doesn't matter what her intentions are. Not the a-hole, your family may think you are, but they also didn't have their life's work stolen by sister-in-law. And now, on to the update. Thank you everyone for giving me advice on how to proceed with this mess. After speaking with my pre-law friend, I decided to go the legal route. I reiterated my compromise with sister-in-law and my brother, but he has fully taken her side. My parents warned me that I'd be disowned and I'd be dead to them if I'm willing to stoop so low. I hired a lawyer and given all the details on my side. My lawyer said she needs my unedited manuscript for the book and my sister-in-law's published book, along with the copy the sister-in-law sent to have it proofread and edited. Because the published book has different parts changed. My lawyer needs the unedited version, which sister-in-law should still have in the transaction she did with her editor and proofreader. We took the risk to ask sister-in-law for the unedited copy that she sent to her editor and proofreader, despite the chance of having her feign, I don't remember their names, I don't have their contacts anymore, I don't want to, etc. I told sister-in-law that we will go through the route of having to use third-party notarization to ensure no foul play on either part. Have one individual look at my unedited manuscript and the one that she sent to her hired editor plus proofreader. Once I told her that, she must have realized I was not bluffing. Sister-in-law and brother accepted the compromise. I take the pseudonym and the royalties with evidence of sold copies. I stipulated that sister-in-law must put a message out to her followers on her blog that she stole from me, and not a single word in the book is hers. I thank the Redditors for suggesting that. She is clearly pissed off and disgusted with me for doing this to my own family. I threatened her with further legal proceedings if she doesn't do it. No lawsuit happened, but I'm glad I got a professional option just in case. As words got back to my parents of what I did, they said, how dare I get a lawyer to punish sister-in-law, because her blog followers will surely lose trust in her and future revenue. I told them and my parents that if they have anything to say, use my business email. I'm done with them. They treated an outsider, sister-in-law, 1 month into dating my brother, better than they ever did to me. I don't need that negativity dragging me down. I'm happier, more free with my opinions, and I don't have to feel the need to compete with everything sister-in-law does, just to get my parents to love me a little more than a daughter in name. I have my friends. They have always been more of a family unit to me than my biological ones. I knew I was going to lose something coming out of this, but I didn't expect I'd be okay with the disappointment and hurt. Thank you everyone, and no, I will not be telling anyone what the name of the book is, because I only came here to get a moral judgment and update everyone on what happened. Please don't think I'm using this for clout. The book will not be promoted on Reddit, not then, not now, and not in the future either. Catchy Phrase says, I am so proud of you. The most important takeaway from all this, and I've followed from the beginning, is that you acted in integrity with your values and a very boundaried person. Sorry your family doesn't have those same values, but you cannot control anyone else. I am very proud of you. Fluffles724 says, all you did was give her a consequence to her shitty actions. She stole, they defended shitty behavior, and tried to shame you for not excusing shitty behavior and piggybacking off your hard work. Congrats. I'm glad you turned out okay. Amrose1491 says, your parents should be ashamed of themselves. I'm glad you have friends to lean on, and thanks for the update. So I guess I throw it to you guys. What would you do in a situation like this if your work was stolen? Would you come after the sister with legal action? Would you go as far as OP did? And would you cut off your family for prioritizing her over you? Or do you think that everything done here was right and there's nothing better she could have done? I would love to know your opinions and your judgment down in the comments below. Thank you. Our next post is by user Throwaway GPRP, titled, "Am I the asshole for calling my sister out for putting me on a blind date and lying to the both of us about it?" To cut a very long story short, my sister put me on a blind date with a wonderful woman. I agreed to it reluctantly, but was pleasantly surprised on said date, as she was pretty much my type, and it was the best date I had been on in years. Here's the issue. The woman is 22, I'm 43. Now, this wouldn't have been an issue if we had just discussed this on the first date, but foolishly we didn't. For some reason, this conversation didn't come about for 3 months after the fact. Just for some context, the blind date was on Skype because of the current pandemic, and we only got to meet properly a few weeks ago. Nevertheless, I think due to being in lockdown, we both enjoyed having someone to talk to. So, where does my sister come into it? At no point did my sister ever mention the age gap was this big. When she said younger, I was presuming 30s, not barely out of high school. On the other side, my sister had told the woman in question that I was in my 30s, not 40s. My sister is 33, so I presume she just thought that we would be closer in age. Anyway, when this revelation came about recently, I was seething, and had it out with my sister for matching me with someone completely inappropriate, and for lying to both me and this woman that she claims to be a friend. She can't see anything wrong with it because, as far as she's concerned, we are both adults and we've been going well for the past few months. Not to mention that I should have asked myself and not presumed. My issue is the principle. You can't lie to people like that, especially as I don't date very often after my wife passed. Ooh, she claims she only did it because she knew I would have said no otherwise. So am I the asshole for having a go at her, or should I just be grateful for her kindness? Edit. Just to clarify, the woman I've been dating does pass for her late 20s, something even she herself confirms. I have only met her in person once, and the vast majority of the time we only called on the phone or texted due to our jobs having hectic schedules. There was no conversation about our childhoods or anything which led either of us to believe the age gap was this large. And just to make it clear, I'm not remotely comfortable with this gap, and my sister knew this. Well, I think that just makes it even clearer for me. I was leaning not the asshole before that extra information, and now that solidifies it for me. I feel like she knew that this wasn't worth setting up because once the truth came out, it would just collapse, and she let it go on for 3 months without that information coming out. Sure, yes, it's reasonable to assume that you're going to ask age while talking to each other for a little bit there, but it didn't happen. And the sister set you guys up knowing that you would not follow through with this relationship. I understand it's hard to move on after you have a wife that passes away on you, but setting someone up like this is not the right way to get them into the dating scene again. If anything, I feel like that just sets them back even longer, knowing now they can't trust their own sister who they would have been able to trust before. All of these emotions would be bubbling up to the surface for you, and you dealt with it pretty well. There's a lot more people that would deal with it much worse than you have, and that could tip them into everyone sucks here or you're the a-hole territory. OP, you sound like a wonderful, measured man, and I wish nothing but the best for you. That's why I'm going to go with not the asshole for this one. I completely see where you're coming from. Trent21 says, "Not the asshole. That's bonkers to me. Like, dating with an age gap is certainly doable, but a 20-year difference means you two are at a completely different stages in life and maturity. How did she not see that age would be an issue? A 20-year gap at 60 to 40 is one thing, and certainly there are age gap relationships that work, but a 22-year-old is so far away from 43. That's twice her age. Not the asshole at all. Age gaps can work. However, blatantly not telling someone about how large of an age gap they have is insane, especially when she was the one who set them up. At least if they knew, they could make a decision based on that knowledge. Action Comics 25 says, "Not the asshole. Your sister set you two up, knowing it would be an issue for you, and I'm guessing the young lady she set you up with, which is undoubtedly an asshole move. The woman I've been dating apparently doesn't mind, but I'm still very much on the fence. 20-year age gaps just aren't appropriate. I think you should stand your ground about not taking this relationship further if you're on the fence in this early stage. As someone who has just recently come out of a relationship with such a big age gap, I started mine when I was 23 and he was 40. At first, that's usually what we think, that it's not a big deal. But as we grow a bit older, we tend to realize age gaps this big rarely work. It's just too many differences and completely opposite life stages. If you're not comfortable with this, then that's something that needs to be talked about with this woman. But your sister was in the wrong for lying about this, which she knew was a deal breaker. Not the asshole, but don't let this consume you. Your sister wants you to be happy, so she lied to try to nudge you along on a date. That was wrong, and she's an asshole for this, but only mildly so. Put your foot down with your sister and tell her that her meddling and dishonesty are counterproductive, and that if she wants you to be in a relationship, she's not helping by doing things like this. But don't let this hurt your sibling relationship too much. Sorry for the loss of your wife, and I hope you find happiness. And OP replies, "Thank you. That's very kind. Honestly, I'm furious at her because I feel like I was led into a non-starter." And now to our update. So, I've had quite a few people asking me for an update, which was very thoughtful, and I thought it would just be easier to share in case anyone else wished to know. First of all, thank you so much for the support and love. It really did help and made me feel very welcomed. Ultimately, I stuck to my guns and broke things off. Many of you asked how on earth I could have gone all that time without knowing her age. Well, that was because she knew my age and initially lied to me. Apparently, she and my sister had already had a conversation about my age and how it wouldn't be an issue for her. She then asked my sister if I knew, and my sister said, and I quote, "Just play along." When I found out about this, I just had enough from both of them and left them to their own devices. It has been about a month and my sister and I are simply not speaking. She tried to call me and tell me this was for my own good, but I just let her get on with it. I'm not necessarily mad at either of them, but I'm just done with them. The feelings I felt for the woman were more or less manufactured because she put on a persona which she knew I would be attracted to. Although it has been some time, I'm still exhausted by the whole situation, so I would prefer to keep my distance from the two of them. Nevertheless, thank you so much for those who replied and checked up on me. It meant a lot. For now, I'll just keep going on my own, but these things happen. Reddit and Twitter did prove that there were some decent people out there. Not necessarily saying the woman in question isn't decent, I just question her approach to this particular situation. Oh, and those saying a male widow is a widower? I'm very much aware of that, but after years of saying it and having foreign relatives not knowing the difference between the two, I stopped caring, as they both meant the exact same thing. A person who had lost their spouse. Slagathor in the comments says, "I am very sorry that this happened to you. That is so deceitful. Especially because you come out looking like the creep if she ever told this story. Not all women are like this, and I wish you the very best in the future. Onwards and upwards." Sir Kalena says, "I'm sorry that you were lied to like this. How could either of them think that you could build a relationship on deceit? I'm glad you are doing better now, and to be honest, not speaking to your sister until she understands, apologizes, and you are ready is absolutely justified. I'm glad this hasn't wrecked your opinion of all people." That's the immaturity of youth, I suppose. Although she's kind of trapped. If she tells him her age, he won't date her because she's too young for him. If she doesn't, the lie proves she's too immature to be dating him. It is, as they say, a catch-22. The brass dancer says, "Your sister's deceit potentially could have led to so many dire consequences for you. Whilst morally there is nothing wrong with such an age gap, your personal objection to it should have sufficed. Sadly, despite the above, societal views of age gap relationships mean there is still considerable stigma, especially in the case of older men dating younger women. That obviously includes the misconceptions of dirty old men and sugar daddies, as well as gold diggers and daddy issues. Even if you and the woman had agreed to take things further, these stigmas would prevail and be yet another obstacle to overcome. Your sister clearly had no forethought here. She could have caused a lot of problems for both of you. This potentially would have affected your personal and professional reputations. Obviously, in no way do I advocate for this kind of malicious gossip and hearsay, and the judgments from others outside of the box which are born of such. But while these stigmas unjustifiably exist, so do the risks to the individual's reputations." And I think that's a good comment to end today's episode on, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, please do tell me what you thought of it down in the comments below. What would you do in this situation? I feel like I would probably do exactly what OP did. And what's your thoughts on such a big age gap? Would you be okay with being 43 and dating a 22-year-old? Is that too much for you? Or, would it be cooler to see bigger age gaps? I've personally not seen dating, but I have seen a 22-year-old and a 60-year-old hooking up on the regular. That's odd to me, but I'm glad that some people can get along like that. It's very interesting. I can definitely see where questionable morals come into play for these situations, and the more I read, the more insight I get, and the more fine-tuned my opinion becomes. That's what I like about covering this content, because I'm always changing my mind on things. And even though I have stupid opinions for one video, I see comments, and then I learn from those mistakes and I refine it as such to become a more societally acceptable one. Or flaws in my thinking will be shown and I will identify those and see where I can improve it in the future. What are your judgments for today's stories, guys? What did you think of them? And what about this situation? Who's the a-hole in it? Because I feel like it's clear-cut OP, but there's definitely ways it could be not the a-hole or no a-holes here, if some events hadn't happened, I guess. But everyone's different. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. If you loved it and you're not subscribed yet, sometimes YouTube does unsubscribe you. You can go check that subscribe box, see if it's still working. Who knows? I hope you guys have a good day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.